Good evening, everybody. Welcome back after such a long break when we started these live lectures with Dr. Cohen. So tonight, Dr. Cohen will be talking about how to stay happy and healthy. You know, we all survived pandemic, which is great. So I'm really looking forward to learn more about Dr. Cohen's wisdom and what he discovered through pandemic, and what advice does he have for us to share on a physical, mental, and spiritual planes, to carry on healthy and strong into the future. So Dr. Cohen, take it away. Just a little bit of housekeeping rules. Tonight we're going to do about half an hour lecture, and we'll do Q&A after. So please either post your comments in the chat, or you can, I don't know if you can ask live, but anyway, just find a way to flow your comments and questions through the chat. Looking forward to it, and take it away, Dr. Cohen.
Thanks for the introduction, and it's nice to do this again. It's been 2 years.
Yep.
It's actually 2 years, and how to stay happy and healthy is to adapt to the reality of our life on planet Earth now. There's so much stress that people are having to deal with. People feel threatened. We feel we have these infections floating around, and if we're unlucky, we're going to get one. And there's a lot we know. Some of this will be review. I covered it, and some of it I've gone more in depth since the last one I gave. So the first thing is, how do we make a functioning immune system? Immune system is the information on how we avoid getting infected and sick. And years ago, I was at the Stanford Medical School, and I was reading the Journal of Cellular Biology, where some researcher listed the nutrient components of the immune system. And then to find these components, that became almost a 2-year endeavor. So the first thing is, if you go into any Whole Foods or Amazon and you ask for a calcium supplement, almost all of them will be calcium carbonate, and which is basically worthless. It's the same as eating the street where you live. The immune system is dependent on, it's adapted over millennial, actually millions of years, to calcium bicarbonate. And the best place to get calcium bicarbonate is from beets, the calcium in beets. And that converts it into calcium bicarbonate. So if you have a pathogen in your system, your immune system, made up of monocytes and macrophages, large cells, are constantly patrolling. Plus there's what's called toll receptors guarding. It's like the Swiss guards guarding the Pope. They're guarding our system so we don't get infected. And when we do get infected, we get certain bacteria. So the key thing is the calcium bicarbonate. So the videos I saw years ago was a pathogen getting circled by the calcium bicarbonate, and then the macrophages recognize this is the pathogen and they go and eat it. If it's not circled by calcium bicarbonate, the macrophages ignore it. Second thing is to get chelated zinc. What does chelated means? That every mineral, which is zinc is one of the most important ones for our nervous system and our immune system, has to be activated by a precise mineral. And so zinc chelated is the precise protein that activates it. So if you go and buy chelated minerals, most of the time they're just spraying proteins on them, and very little chance you're getting the right protein. The third one is vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is not really a vitamin. It's more like a hormone, and it enables our immune system to become very virulent and protective of us.
So I just want to ask a question. You said calcium that we get in the store is not the calcium that our body needs against pathogens. So where do people get the right, you mentioned beets, right? Where do people get the correct source of these vitamins, and maybe talk a little bit more about the combination of three? Should the people, you said vitamin D, you said calcium, um, and where should they be getting, and how do they make sure that they,
Well, that's what we do for a living.
yeah.
We have in this office the nutrients that precisely we need for the immune system to function in a very pathogenic world. And we use whole food vitamins. I don't necessarily like the word vitamin, but the real word is nutrients. And besides the vitamin D, which I recommend that you do 5 to 10,000 a day until you get your levels up around 100. The other thing is vitamin C, natural vitamin C, that activates the immune system, makes it more effective of swallowing the pathogens. And we use what's called cataplex C, which is the form that our adrenal glands, which control our stress and release of cortisol and progesterone hormones, recognize. And then vitamin B, we have what's called cataplex B core, which is the original formula. That's soil-based vitamin B, which is not only necessary for the immune system, it's necessary for a healthy nervous system. And the next question people have always asked me is, what do I need for a healthy nervous system? So each tissue in our body has growth factors. For a healthy nervous system, for a healthy brain to keep functioning as we age or get under stress, and we're all under tremendous stress, is the growth factors that encourage the growth of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And one of the big things that's happening to people, if you know a little bit about neurotransmitters, dopamine is when you feel like your life is working and you're getting rewarded and you're happy and you wake up with a lot of dopamine and you can't wait to get going. And whatever I do, it supports me. It's based on a habit. But what's happening now is we get under stress, our dopamine is converting to norepinephrine. And that's great if somebody was trying to eat you for dinner, but that's not good as a daily lifestyle. So what happens is our dopamine becomes norepinephrine, which means you can fight for your life if you're being attacked, but it's not good for staying calm and focused and being calm and peaceful and productive in your life. So your dopamine literally becomes norepinephrine, which is you're on speed, ready to protect yourself. So when you're watching a violent movie, that's all being activated as you need to defend yourself. And years ago when I was meditating, I came up with a story of ancient times, the first mammals, that a mammal mother was trying to protect her young in the jungle. And so it was nighttime and there was predators traveling around looking for dinner. And the mom, to protect her babies, needed to convert our dopamine right away to become ferocious and to protect her. And that's why we got programmed to convert to norepinephrine, which is speed. So instead of being a weak person, we become super And then the other things that we need in our life that I wanted to go over is that in order to keep growing a nervous system, if you ever, I had a great aunt that taught my mother great, was her aunt. Her name was Ida, and she lived to 106. And we discovered from talking to my mother about her that she had the 6 components that no matter how old you are, so she lived independently to 103, and then her eyesight started failing, and she had to live in assisted living till 106. And so the first thing you need every single day to grow your brain and your nervous system is you need challenge. So in order for our nervous system to keep growing, you need to feel like I have to do a little more than I think I can. And that stimulates what we talked about, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And as a natural medicine, that's neurotrophin, PMG. The next thing is challenge and complexity. So you have to have some time in your life every day that you're doing multiple things at once. So you're going for a walk and smelling the flowers. It has to be multiple. And the third thing is movement. We must exercise and move, otherwise we deteriorate. And the fourth thing is you have to have nutrition, because nutrients are a communication system. Every nutrient is information, and we designed to have the proper information to keep developing yourself no matter what age we are. And then the next to last one is nurturing. And that was the discovery of oxytocin, where a Norwegian researcher testing on herself every time she got pregnant, she noticed that the more she connected with her babies, the higher level of oxytocin, which makes you feel one with your environment and loved and supported and relaxed and calm and focused. That's oxytocin. And that, she discovered, comes from a non-sexual. That doesn't mean sexual is not good, but for oxytocin, you don't need a non-sexual talk of being touched in a loving way. You can do it yourself in the center of your belly. And that, if you do that every day as part of a meditation, or your spouse or your significant other, or does it for you, and there's no sex involved, your body will start flooding with oxytocin, and you'll feel like you're one with this planet. And then the last thing, which came later, is every day you have to have a purpose beyond yourself. So every day you have to feel that you're making a contribution. Not only feel it, know you're making a contribution, that there are living sentient beings that are progressing and having a better life because you exist. And if that really is happening, that's going to expand your consciousness, and you have the possibility of growing into a enlightened person.
So I just want to stop some viewers just joining us now. This is the lecture of Dr. Cohen's about how to live a happy and healthy life. Apologies for those that we had to change the link because it didn't work, the previous link, but it's on the feed, on the page. So we're happy that you found us. Please post your comments and questions in the chat that we monitoring for your questions. And just to recap, Dr. Cohen, so what you talked about so far is very important in the right nutrition And the supplements that you're mentioning, I just want to also ask a question. The supplements that you were mentioning, you said it's very important that they are food based, but how do you source? I know like you're very particular and very picky about the providers that you work. What do you look in the vitamin or in the company, in their values or in their products that for you to be able to source it to your patients and suggest it to your patients?
Inside our bodies, we have a soil, and that corresponds with the soil on the top of the planet. So whether the plants are grown in a healthy, deep, nutrient-rich soil is what I'm looking for. And that it's harvested in a way that preserves the nutrients. And there's a few in the world. I mean, it's a concept called hormesis. So everything stresses us in a way, triggers our immune system, and that if it's the proper nutrition and the proper information, each time we become a little more stronger and resilient to the stress we're under. And you just listen to the news and you realize how stressed the planet is. Right now we're having volcanic eruptions in Iceland, and I've been to Iceland, and it's a magnificent place. Magnificent, wonderful people. What's happening, the war situations around the world, it breaks my heart. We need to connect, and I wanted to talk about what's a little controversial, and I try to get to the bottom line about it before I talked about it. I was going to bring it up, but I wanted to cover one thing. So I was asked if I don't want to vaccinate, or I think vaccination, especially the mRNA vaccines, can potentially be harmful, is there anything else I can do? So, working with this herbalist, David, from Oregon, who I've been working with since 1972, I think. I made my first formula with him. We came up with viral defense. And viral defense, he was able to source, the main ingredient is artemisinin, and that's been recognized by the World Health Organization. And it's almost impossible to get one that is potent as ours. He found one in a remote area in China, and that's what we use in viral defense. And viral defense enables us to resist all viruses. And remember, our DNA is made up of spliced viruses. You go into the ocean, every drop of ocean water has 10 million viruses. So viruses are not our enemy, it's how we relate to it. And if you want to learn more of this, I've talked about this before, is Survival of the Sickest. It's a great book that tells us that everything that makes us ill also enables us to survive. It's based on very good science. Viral defense, we put in 6 components that are synergistic, and it's also, we discovered, because many people came with post-viral, where they were losing their appetite or still had symptoms, they were getting sick frequently, and taking a half a teaspoon or 5 drops 3 or 4 times a day, they were recovering fairly rapidly. So many people take it preventively, they take it as a way of reducing symptoms, but also as a protection. Inside of it, we have the most potent echinacea in the world, astragalus, we have elderberry, we have artemisinin, and I've been to China, and you couldn't find artemisinin at the potency we have. David had a contact there. And this works also on malaria and other conditions. That's why the World Health Organization is pushing it. Okay, so mystically, what's the most important thing a person can do in their life if they want to be authentic? Is to calm yourself down and regulate yourself so that you are drawn to the truth. And if you look at the mystical meaning of truth, it means one with your Creator and the absence of death. So it's the life form. And when that happens, you produce trust. And with trust, we can start living in harmony in a world that right now seems to be motivated by conflict. And out of trust comes empathy. So when you start feeling, what's the definition of true love is when you're more concerned with how the other person is living than yourself. That's the empathy. And that produces love. And now for the controversy. And I was reluctant to speak about it because people I respect have told me it was a forgery. So as many people who know me know that Albert Einstein is one of my heroes and considered him a mentor to me, especially in science. And before he died, he left a collection of 1,400 letters he corresponded with the most people in the world, the most important people in the world, both in science and other fields. And he left them to his oldest daughter. And he asked her not to publish them because the world is not ready for them. And so she had them, and she got old, and in her will she left them to the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And they're raising money right now to open the Albert Einstein Museum with a lot of support from China and India, donations for this museum. And recently a letter was released, and many people, and they published it on the Huffington Post, said it's a forgery, that it was never written by Einstein. But even if he didn't write it, I think it's so important that I'm going to talk about it as if he did write it. And in my heart, I do believe he did write it, or at least felt that. And he said that without love, nothing emerges. Love is the one thing that brings on manifestations. And if he had to do it all over again, when he gave the formula for general relativity, he would have included the mathematics of love. And I can tell you that I have a strong feeling that this world needs love. And we have to start knowing that how much love we give is benefiting many people we maybe never meet or will meet in our life. And he said that, so his primary regret, he wrote his daughter, is that he didn't tell her enough how much he loves her, and that he didn't include the mathematics of love in his universal formula. So that's controversy. I did try to contact the National Library in Jerusalem, and I must have been other people trying to contact them, and they said they have no information about any of the Einstein letters being forgeries, and they have not been in contact with Huffington Post. So I think that's really important.
Well, can you go back to the comment you said that love that you're gonna give and feel is gonna affect people that you met and never met in your life? What do you mean by that?
I think whoever wrote the Einstein letter, and I hope it was Einstein, that love causes all manifestation to occur, especially the love where you're concerned with the well-being of another person more than your own well-being.
So do you mean the thought of like wishing somebody well, the love or the love you maybe help the viewers to connect with that love? Like how does that love
But
look for them?
we'll do it in a meditation. But
Okay.
it's the love comes from the heart.
So feeling in your heart, sensory
Yeah,
feeling in
you
your
feel
heart.
it. It's a feeling that comes from your heart, and it's talking to the center of your gut.
Yeah. Because a lot of times you hear people, oh, I love you so much and I love you, that kind of love. And people say, like, well, but yeah, I love you. You're my friend. I love you. I love
Well,
you.
I just had that experience where somebody said they love me, but can you send me an Apple gift card?
So I just want to make sure that you guys understand that the love that Dr. Cohen is really referring here is really that genuine sensory experience in your
That
heart
comes from truth,
that comes from truth.
truth, trust, and empathy.
Truth, trust, and empathy. And I just want to earlier on you mentioned that the true mystical experience that we can have is witness the truth and connect with the creator.
No, the true mystical feeling is to sit quietly
mm,
and train yourself without reacting, just to observe. That's the same. The quality of observation is the results in quantum mechanics experiments. The same in physics. Same in all meditations. Is the ability to see things for what they are, without a need to change them. And what really helped me a lot, I was taking a training years ago with the Dalai Lama, and he was talking about habits, that we are drawn to what's most familiar that brings us suffering and torment. That's our habit. So without those habits, we're programmed to have habits because that enables us to survive. The fact that nobody ate you for dinner, you survived, you have a part of your brain telling you to keep doing the same thing over and over again because you're still alive. And if we want to evolve past what's going on right now in the world, we have to override that.
by simply witnessing, being quiet, and seeing the truth without the need to change it.
Well, the etymology of the word truth tells you what you need. The mystical word is emet, which is the olive, which is the origin, the source of everything, the one source. The mem is the feminine power of self-sacrifice, of wanting to self-sacrifice to give birth to something more than yourself. And the tough is the manifestation of that into a physical reality. And so the more you get into your own genuineness and purpose, the more you can be unified with the truth.
What would you say, what is the most common obstacle that you've seen in your practice working with your patients that gets in the way from seeing that truth and quieting that mind and being able not to change it? Because you deal with a lot of people who are very sick and dealing with health conditions, and to sit with that truth that you are unhealthy is very difficult. What would you say to that?
I think the biggest obstacle that people have is their habits. That's what the Dalai Lama said. When I heard the Dalai Lama said that, it really resonated with me, that we keep doing over and over again the same thing. Einstein said the same thing, expecting a different result. We keep repeating the same thing.
So there is a comment that I'd suggest reading the description of the death cut, according to Judaism, that's love. Dr. Cohen is talking about. Yeah. So that's the Francesca suggested, and thank you. And Johan said, I agree with the statement. Thank you, everybody, for your messages. But going back, you think it's really the biggest obstacle is the habits, your habitual
Our drive to
reptilian brain kind of, survival mode that we live most of our life.
that's how we live, to survive. And we keep feeding ourselves way more than we need, thinking it'll make us survive. Why do people work themselves to death? For money, when it's killing them.
But would you say, you're in the heart of Silicon Valley, it's one of the most ambitious places in the world.
Mm-hmm.
This place attracts ambitious, driven people who test their success, and they're passionate about what they do, and maybe they get lost in the process. How does one distinguish when it's for the money, when it's for survival, or when it's like your true passion and you kind of on your path, as you talked about before, actually, in the other lectures?
Many of the most successful people in the world, when they go home alone and get into bed, they're miserable.
Successful, we're going to see rich people, right? Like
Not
wealthy.
just rich people, but people that created the biggest businesses.
Scientists,
Everybody,
businessmen,
yeah.
politicians.
You need a way of coping with a world that's under challenge. And what has influenced me spiritually is I started studying Kabbalah back in the late 1960s with Kabbalistic masters who later some of them became patients, and combining that with jazz music, and then I studied extensively Tibetan Buddhism, spending time in Tibet, treating thousands of people in Tibet. So there's many places that you need to find what resonates with you and practice. It has to be a discipline. You have to do quiescent meditation, in my mind, every day for at least a few minutes.
Can you explain what kind of meditation is that?
That's in every tradition. In Judaism, it's called Hitbonenut, which means to go inside yourself, to know oneself. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's called shamatha. In Christianity, it's called unity. It's when you leave yourself to unify with something greater than yourself, to be yourself.
So when you're in that true union with a creator consciousness, would you say, or energy, how do you
I think it's a destiny. It's not a one-time thing. You have moments. I mean, I've had my moments. I've had some magical moments. A lot of them happened to me originally in Jerusalem, but I had them in Tibet and I had them in other places. But you can have them anywhere. Definitely in Silicon Valley, you can have them.
people all over the world can have these moments, and I'm sure they are powerful. If any of you have any more questions, please post it here. I think we're going to wrap up the lecture and we're going to go into meditation. Is that the plan?
Okay.
Any final words, Dr. Cohen?
No, let's just do some quiescent meditation.
Okay.
The idea is to see things without any need to change them. I'll do guiding a little bit. So get yourself in a comfortable position. And this is different than other meditation in that you don't want to close your eyes. So the idea is to find an arbitrary place in space and keep looking at that. And then whatever comes across you, remember that every second your brain is given 40,000 inputs, And only the ones that are most familiar become conscious. So the idea is to see things for what they are. There's no need to change anything. There's nothing to learn. There's nothing to improve. All we want to do is practice observation. To allow the breath to go in through your nose and gently out your mouth, and try to find a rhythm that feels comfortable. It could be 3 beats, 4 beats, 5 beats, where what goes in comes out. So most people tend to take in more than they give out. And that should be some equanimity and some equilibrium, some rhythm. So as you breathe in, notice any place in your body that's not comfortable, that's distracting. If you notice any sounds around you, just note the sounds. Don't try to change them. When thoughts go through your brain, allow them to dissipate like smoke in the air. Any fears, just allow yourself to feel them. Don't avoid your thoughts, just watch them. And as you go deep into yourself and you watch your breath, you'll have moments where you'll feel blissful and empty. So just watch what you're feeling. Watch the thoughts. Watch the sounds. And allow yourself just to get quiet. Take a few moments and just quietly examine those thoughts. And I'll join you shortly. Remember, there's nothing to change. There's nothing to learn. Your authentic self is everything you need. You had to overcome impossible obstacles to have this life. This life that gives you the leisure, that you can sit quietly and just listen to the self that has never left you. Let all the meanness and the anger and pain and hurt that's floating around us, allow it to float into space and become like smoke that dissipates in the wind. None of that is who you are, and none of that is who you'll be. Every one of you came in this world to be your optimal self, here for learning, healing, and being productive and protective. Take a few moments, watch your thoughts, and I'll begin a countdown in a few minutes. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath, stretch, and come back to a peaceful consciousness. And thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Cohen, for a wonderful lecture and wonderful meditation. Those who joined us later, the full recording is going to be available on Dr. Cohen's page. We also will share it on our YouTube channel, where you can find, again, Dr. Cohen, Dr. Cohen's name, the Center for the Healing Process, and probably we'll send a email link to our patients. But everybody stay happy and healthy, and we're hoping to launch a series of talks about different conditions that people are facing, patients are going through, to support you guys on the journey of healthy and happy life and healing. All the best. Good night.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.